Joining us now, Fraternal Order of Police National Vice President. He is Joe Gamaldi. Hey, Joe, it's great to have you back on. Okay, we've got a spike in shootings. It's good to see you. A spike in shootings across the country. It's putting the defund the police movement back on its heels. It takes that to have a cultural shift, but that's a good thing, it seems like, for law enforcement and for victims and families out there, and immigrant and minority families who are saying enough is enough. We're the victims getting victimized by this. What do you say?
Well, we're certainly seeing a shift in sentiment, but let me tell you just how bad it really is. We've had 185 police officers shot in this country as of August 1st, which is a record number since we started tracking that 6 years ago. We've also seen that ambush attacks against police officers are up 126%. You combine that with our skyrocketing murder rate in this country, where we had 20,000 murders last year, which is coincidentally the highest it's been in just about 30 years, and we're outpacing that number in 2021. And you can see just how bad it is. But yet we still have these charlatan and grifter politicians that are selling snake oil to the public that defunding the police is actually going to help. But guess what? No one's buying their BS anymore, because a recent poll out of Detroit said 90% of people wanted more police officers. A recent Gallup poll said that 81% of Black Americans wanted more police officers out on their streets. And a recent poll out of the Washington Post said that they saw the highest number in 20 years of people that think violent crime is a real problem in this country. So the public is waking up, and they know that the defund the police movement is a complete loser. And all these replacement things that they try to put out, like DC, they rolled out violence interrupters, whatever the hell that is. And in the neighborhoods they put in it, violent crime went up.
You know, Joe, what's really interesting, too, is Chicago newspapers, Chicago media is at the epicenter of this, doing the reporting. They're taking a stand. They're blasting and doing the research about top prosecutors going weak on crime, endangering cops and civilians. We've got the media there in Chicago and the top cops slamming a judge for setting free on just a $4,500 bond the suspect accused of selling the gun in a straw man purchase in the murder of slain officer Ella French. People are really mad. They're saying this is a disservice to her memory, what prosecutors are doing there. And the guy who shot her was put out on probation after a hit and run. The Chicago newspapers are up in arms about this. What do you say about that?
Well, welcome to the party, local media, that you finally wanted to cover this, because we've been talking about this for years, that activist judges and rogue prosecutors are driving this huge increase in violent crime. I mean, in Chicago, we've seen murders go up 59% since 2019, and shootings are up 77%. Kim Fox, the DA there, just dismissed 25,000 cases that include murders, robberies, not the guy that's stealing the candy bar from the corner store. And what really makes it even worse is the anti-police sentiment coming from the mayor's office there. Mayor Lightfoot starts telling people, well, hey, we're not going to have large tributes for Officer French because of COVID restrictions. Meanwhile, they just had Lollapalooza there with 400,000 people attending, including the mayor, maskless, but we can't have tributes to honor our fallen officers. It's a complete joke, and it erodes the trust that we're working so hard to build with our communities. Because guess what? People don't want to come forward when they know the person that just shot somebody in the face is going to be out in 2 hours and can retaliate against them. We have to stop this madness if we're going to get our communities back.
We hear you. Stop going weak on crime, prosecutors in Chicago. Look what the Chicago Tribune is also reporting, Joe. An analysis of murder investigations in Chicago by WBEZ Radio. It found that less than half of murder cases, less than half are solved in Chicago when the victim was white. For Hispanics, the rate was only about 33%. But look at this. When the victim was black, it was less than 22%. That means the killer of a black victim has more of a chance of getting away with it in Chicago. Minorities got to be up in arms about that.
And they absolutely should be, because statistically, you know who the victims are of these murders and violent crimes? It's normally our Black and our brown communities. But this is what happens. When you demonize the hardworking men and women in law enforcement, when you call us murderers, when you defund us, you erode that trust with the public. They're not going to feel as comfortable comfortable coming forward and telling us about the crimes in their neighborhood. And as I said, when they witness a murder, that person wants to know that they're going to be safe if they come forward and speak to our detectives. But instead, they know that person's going to be out in 2 hours. I mean, if you're a viewer right now, would you go to the police if you knew that the guy you just fingered is going to be back out to shoot you? Of course not. That's why the anti-police rhetoric needs to stop, and everybody should agree that violent crime is terrible in our communities. It's not a partisan issue, and we got to stop.
Hey, Joe, you're terrific. Thank you for your service to our country. You tell it straight. You put it out there. You're plain spoken. You're passionate. We want to have you back on, Joe Gamaldi. Thanks again for joining us. Okay, next up.
Thanks for having me.